those can be somewhat misleading a little bit. I'm not trying to say taxes
Sure.
or tax rate won't
Sure.
change, but, the state requires that the county send those
Oh,
notices out.
Okay,
And they don't always have all the information. It's not a
Yeah.
great system.
to me, it just, I'm looking at this broadly, it looks like a 15% increase in my property taxes across high school, county.
Could you mind?
Very picture, look at that.
Thank you.
So at my, and, pull, between now, I got. full
Yeah, I mean, it's real money, so I mean.
Goddamn right.
Real money.
It's good.
And you know-
So I'm getting close.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it works.
Yeah, we're at the bottom of the hill.
Yep.
Hey, how are you?
You might not think that I'm very good
All
driver.
right. He was giving me a hard time. He said, how come you didn't bring country statements from?
Community,
Yes, ma'am.
I actually have a couple of slides, so we can show
Yeah.
the true increase in the property taxes and
Okay.
read those very complicated statements that.
They're, I don't want to call them misleading. They're, yes, they're.
Yes, so we have like the true.
Perfect.
The true amount of how the taxes will increase.
Perfect.
And then it
I don't
can,
feel like.
just a note that says this is how you want to live this.
Perfect. Okay, great. Appreciate that, Barb. So it is a public hearing tonight, so you folks are certainly welcome to, speak.
Yes.
You think I'm a-
I encourage you to. I absolutely encourage you to. She's telling me not to. I encourage you to.
Oh my gosh.
I do appreciate you guys.
Sure, sure. Well, I hope they explain it.
Just like-
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I like.
Who, what, why.
Absolutely, sir.
Cause I'm like,
Oh, yeah, they fit in my tiny little hands and they fit in my
you
hands.
gave me a hard
So-
time. I had to bring it. It's not for you.
There you go.
Holy shit, all right. Tremendous, you.
Less than
2 minutes. Yeah.
Hi, Gary. A lot of people are.
I'm good, how are you? Science. Thanks, Rick. Yeah. Exactly.
Windmills, trying to get this.
Yeah. Mayor was giving me a hard time the other day, so I had to bring it like that.
Still good.
There we go.
Love it. I got a couple pens. Do you ever use a pen?
Oh, hell, yeah. I don't know. When
You like a cute little guy or you want a regular one? I love your civil engineering thing. Are you a civil engineer?
No, I'm not, but I worked in the department.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So I sit on the civil engineering curriculum advisory committee. So external people were sitting with David Sanders and others and trying to.
I worked there, I worked with, grad students
Okay.
for about 22 years.
Awesome. Maybe even when I was going to school there. I was going through, I graduated in 97.
Okay, and I probably started about 98.
Okay, right after I got out of there. Okay.
He said it up this morning.
Good, good.
I responded.
Did you do a master's up there then too, or?
I only got a bachelor's. so-
Bachelor's.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I needed the extra education.
Was Fern Parish there?
I didn't go into the office much in high school and grade school. I spent a lot of time in office and I'm older, so I don't like offices.
Sure.
Now I sit on the advisory committee and some other things, and so I'm really involved with the office up there, so.
Very good people in line and everything.
Recording or video.
That's it.
I wonder who's up there in the office anymore.
Linda Dainty was, who's there now. She's, yes, David Sanders. He's the dean's personal meeting. Oh, wow.
Nancy Foley.
We've got one.
Well, I heard that name. Yeah, Ever been there?
We have to get another receiver.
I think she's still-
Oh, good, go side. It'd be sad to lose in the tournament, though.
Yeah, they could have gone one more step.
One more would have helped my bracket out a lot.
Good evening. The time is 5:30. I will call to order the Huxley City Council. Roll call, please.
Roberts. Here. Etcher,
Here.
Rigler,
Here.
Mulder,
Here.
Murphy. Let the record show that Councilman Murphy is absent.
Thank you very much. For the record, this is the 5:30 PM meeting this evening. There's a meeting following this at 6 PM. So I need a motion to approve the agenda this evening.
I'll give you a motion.
Motion by Mr. Mulder. I'll offer a second. Second by Mr. Rigler. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving along, item 3 this evening is a public hearing. The time is 5:32, and I will open the public hearing. Prior to public comments, I believe staff's put together a couple slides and maybe could offer just a couple comments regarding our proposed levy.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. This year, the tax levy is projected to be the same levy that we've had for the last several years. I mean, this is only my starting my third year here shortly, but the tax rate will be $11.68. That'll be the 810 general levy, and then we've got a $3.58, I believe, debt service levy that gets us to the 1168. I know Barb has a couple slides that she can talk a little bit about.
Well, the statements that the state had put on our budget showed us with a two-figure increase in property taxes, when realistically, what they did is they added a 10% valuation increase to cut to a $300,000 commercial property and a $100,000 residential property. Those did not change. We did not have valuation increases since this was not an equalization year. So on this slide, you'll see that leaving those values the same, taking into account the increased rollback, the actual increase for a $300,000 commercial property is 0.8%. And for a residential property valued at $100,000, the increase was 2%. Both of those are below the January inflation Midwest CPIU of 3.4%.
And I also think it's fair to note that, as you recall, last year was the first year that came after House File 718, that tax statements were being sent out by the county, and they show the taxes. Well, it breaks out, it has the city, it has the school district tax shows separately, it shows what the county taxes than any other taxes. So what we're concerned with, and all that we can really control, is what that city tax levy is. And like I said, our levy has not changed this year. The only difference, as Barb pointed out, was there was a change in the rollback that gave us just a little bit more money.
So this next slide is, this is mimicked after the statements that were sent out to property owners. And this is what the top bar, or the top cells are, what it showed for city growth. They're kind of hard to read, so I put some explanations in here. The current property tax, excuse me, is the amount of property taxes the city's going to collect from payments they receive in October and April. So those were taxes that were paid September 24 and this month. And that reflects on the current tax rate of $11.68 per thousand. Then the next column, the effective rate, what the state does is they go back and say, oh, okay, well, if you collected the same amount of dollars in property tax based on your valuations, your effective rate would be $11.40. In reality, we are proposing to collect $2.5 million in property tax with a proposed tax rate of 11.68. And so the bottom set of figures shows you how that actually affects a property. I got the median value of residential property from the county assessor. This is the median value as of 1/1/24. So this is how this tax rate affects the median value of property. Comes out to a $37 increase in property taxes per year.
Great. I appreciate that, that overview and that information. It's certainly very helpful. This is a public hearing. This is the time for anybody in the public wishing to speak regarding our proposed tax levies to do so, and I would certainly encourage you to. If you'd like to speak, I just ask that you come to the podium and state your name and address.
Glenn Peterson, I live at 1104 Ridgewood Drive. Can I have a copy of that piece of paper? It explains this a little bit better than what they were sent out in the mail. You're saying, do I understand this correctly? If your house is evaluated at $265,000, it'll increase $38.
For the city portion.
For the city.
Correct,
Not the school district.
correct. That's, we are talking the city. Are you not getting as much money from the state?
Get some road use.
We can get road use taxes about the only
Oh, I see.
state dollars that.
We know federal is trying to cut, we know state's trying to cut. I don't know what the city's gonna do, but looks like we're spending money.
Certainly. Our intent at this point is to, I'll say, hold steady.
Okay.
It's at the $38. It's not nothing, but it's.
Sure.
pretty small. So,
When we add that to the school and add it to the county, it's gonna kind of, and as being retired people, it's,
Sure. Sure. And if you, like I said, I can plug in the value of your property
sure,
to show you how this works on it. I can also plug in the value of your property and show you where every one of those city tax dollars are going.
oh,
Where
that's
they're
fun.
gonna fund the police or the parks, whatever they're gonna fund. So we have all of that available.
Excellent. 1104 Ridgewood Drive, Cool.
Got that.
Glenn Peterson. Thank you. I don't,
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Appreciate your comments. Sir, did you wish to speak tonight? I encourage you to, so please do. Just ask that you start with your name and address.
Jay Weedern, 706 Park Ridge. Just what are we gonna do with this $37 on average or median? Are we gonna go more parks to keep them updated or streets or, yeah, just kind of wanted to know what you're gonna do with the extra funds?
Yeah, certainly a fair question. The city has not yet adopted our budget for next year. We start with how many dollars we're gonna have and then move forward to that. We do have a proposed budget and that's available. It was in our packet a month ago, 2 weeks ago,
We had the budget work session
2 weeks, a week ago.
a week ago,
Okay.
so.
So
It was available and,
it would have been part of that packet. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay, so if you go back to the council packet from a week ago, which is available online, you can see our proposed budget, and you'll see literally line item by line item where increases are, decreases, where they are. So you'll see exactly where those dollars are going.
Okay.
I don't know that I can speak in general terms, maybe staff can.
Well, I think within that budget, Barb had a good executive summary that kind of outlined that there were some decreases in road use overall as we're taking some tax increment finance dollars to fund part of our admin salaries rather than taking it from road use. So it was actually, you'll see like in road use, the salaries kind of go down, but that allows them to keep more of the road use dollars to be able to use for their projects. Where on the admin side, costs for personnel went up, but we're actually utilizing other dollars to fund that increase. So it wasn't taking any additional property tax dollars per se. There were dollars that were coming from TIF. For the most part, the majority of our departments, there's just not a lot of growth in the dollars that we receive. So I would say all of our department heads have done a really good job. They pretty much hold the line. The increases that we see, typically you've got an increase in salary and bennies that go up. We were fortunate that we don't believe we're going to have any increase in our health insurance, which will save us some money. But staff has done a pretty good job of kind of towing the line, still providing, the same level of service. And then we do have a meeting scheduled next week on the 1st to talk about some of our capital improvement projects that are that we would like to move forward with in next year's budget using some of our local option tax dollars, which our lost dollars are money that comes from the 1 cent sales tax, and part of the ballot when it was passed was 80% of that's to go for property tax relief. So we've utilized those dollars to put in reserve accounts to help buy police cars, ambulances, fire trucks, street projects, those sorts of things. So we're not asking for more property tax dollars, which we can't really get based on some of the new laws. And then we don't really want to take our debt service levy up any higher than it is. So I would encourage you to, if you want to come hear what's going to happen with CIP, we're planning on meeting on the 1st at 6 o'clock, I believe. And if you have any questions, if you look at the proposed budget, please give Barbara or myself a call and we'd be happy to visit with you.
Sure, thank you.
You're welcome.
If you want, I'll add also, one of the things we are looking at as a city is a new public works building facility, so we are investing back into our own assets that should help us house and keep our equipment the way we need to be able to expand those services. That we kind of have a really old facility now, so there's extra things that we're trying to do to make our city grow. I know in our long range plan, we're looking at new fire station and other things. We're exploring those opportunities, trying to see. And we do believe in the parks and all parts of that, but I can't tell you specifically where that $37 is going to go, but yeah.
Fair comment.
Mike, do you wish to say anything this evening? Okay. Oh, seeing no one else rise to speak this evening, the time is 5:42. I'd ask for a motion to close the public hearing. By the motion by Mr. Rigler,
A second.
second by Ms. Roberts. Do we need a roll call or just a voice vote on this? Okay, all those in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I would ask for a motion to adjourn this particular meeting. Motion by Mr. Mulder. A second by Ms. Roberts down there. All those in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. We do have a regular council meeting scheduled for 6 p.m. this evening. So we'll see you back here in just a bit. Thank you very much.
Yes, that's just what I was gonna say, you want to come into my office?
Oh, sure.
This is how. Pharmacy area. I know. Can't remember what. But he does have. Just for that, yep. Yeah, started June 1st is the. Yes. The bridge is down, or the bridge over Hankey is gonna be down in the strip. It is. Unless. That last mile. That's the priority of this council. Yes. Laura will take care of you. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, sir. It's not reducing. I know last night. Sure, it's on there, but yeah. Yeah, if there is something, after the, I can find something, because like I said, it breaks it down, like line up. Sure, but the overall budget. Like there's, food up in the library for the ribbon cutting, yeah, but not so much. Yeah.
And there's plenty.
I see, Forest Town pretty good, right?
Yes, I did.
No, I asked you, she's waiting for, somebody to go. Maybe she said you know.
You know,
I know I'm not her. Yeah.
good enough. I think there are people up and going right there. Did ever bring out the call together about the sidewalk extension? He knows me, she knows me through other things, it was on March 1. I don't know, we don't. Like 5 acres.
No, they're already, I thought.
Yeah, she was just asking. Well, if you asked about funding for it, which one to clarify for, yeah, but then she just asked. What's the plan for that? The plan is to continue that in the funding for it. Like, what exactly?
Isn't that these, not the trail?
No, that's a different trail. That's down by.
Okay.
This is right by the corner of what's. Like,
I guess we thought we were like further along.
Barb said half. Funds that were already. Yeah, that was the first thing. Go back. So do you like? I know that she owns a lot.
Not locked out. Did you think you were on the?
That's when I assumed that where it's like. I was gonna look. My younger son. I didn't know.
Thank you. Sidewalks. Anything happening in
Oh, we have to be very careful going out there. We typically don't pull that out until the meeting starts.
Yeah, thank you, Ken.
Oh, it needs.
They don't have it. I sent that over to.
There.
Strengths.
Yeah, just remember.
We actually pulled Chris. I said. And I said, yeah, it's just. But those ones are.
When they did the first rendition of the commercial, and I got all these required.
Hey, Dan, thanks for coming. Absolutely. You got the JV again tonight, but. Okay, you do. Thanks so much, our comments. Appreciate you coming.
I'm gonna have these live be on 30, you can speak to say.
Yeah, you do.
No, we don't.
You could be there tonight.
I am good.
Okay, I can see it.
Well,
That
well,
actually.
see, you didn't mention, oh, see,
In the
this-
afternoon, that's when I-
this is like- we were-
But yeah.
Big permit.
I still go. No, I like to work on it. Thank you. And obviously, great thing, but I think that's what I'm gonna
That's not the track, take up the-
Soon, God. But Jack. Speaking for, he could be.
Of course, he hit the jail. I don't know the sound.
I was like, I had a bunch, I never. Good night. It's like, I'm gonna stop and start.
When I saw the college. I was blocked. So no mercy. They could have just happened. I got here. Oh, no. They were. Yeah. It was really-
Very.
Big additional. Somebody. People have cars. So you usually.
Well, once we got- we figured out that- But we needed another receiver for it, and I was like, but nobody told us that the house. So waiting on a receiver, and then we'll get the print.
Okay.
You like the chairs, it's nice. I like it. The uniform, but I still.
I remember one of.
They look very.
But I was gonna say, you can get us a lawyer.
For now, look at the batteries like this. That's the plan.
They might.
Well,
It even for your dogs. Well, I you were Joel. I don't know.
Yes. We'll talk, we'll talk, we'll talk. Oh, no, she wanted to, my wife. Yeah, so it's nothing. Results are nice. Talk real nice.
Oh, it reminds me of those trolls we used to have like sales, we did those trolls in the city of Boulder. With the hair. Let me, now it was a learning post, and you one time, and they all the ones with the little, you know, things on the top. I got a, cube at one of these meetings, we're down at Valley Junction last week. The express cube, where you flip it and then it comes back.
These are concrete.
Oh, it's nice.
Yeah.
Two tubes. So that would end. It's not. When they brought over, and we saw it, we had another, same time on my home.
So now it's.
No.
We have this one.
This one, but we don't have.
Yeah.
Saying, maybe that's five things. I went up there and got, said hi to people.
I saw that. I can do this.
Yeah. Well, we want to have to like solo. Like those, you know, maybe we go together with ours in front of us.
This one is a little more extreme.
Yeah, I agree.
That's actually the first one. I was kind of worried.
Besides all these chairs.
This one looks.
I think they are.
Doesn't it look good? All good.
It's supposed to see.
Amazon can do.
But I was out saying stupid.
I blame now to keep them together.
I like the slant, like.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
Because
all the ones that said the front row, behind the side. Well, especially like your stuff.
Not more straight lines.
Just like.
Yeah. It's like, how do you take your takes? Do you take them randomly or do you show the good thing you showed up? Correct. You know that. No. it doesn't go-
Yes. 1/22.
Super cool.
Good evening. The time is 6 p.m. I will call to order the regular March 25th City Council meeting. Roll call, please.
Roberts. Here. Etcher,
Here.
Rigler,
Here.
Mulder,
Here.
Murphy. Let the record show that Murphy is absent.
Thank you very much. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
Give you a motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Roberts, second by Mr. Mulder. Any discussion? Hearing none, as for all those in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now is the time on the agenda for public comment. Anybody wishing to speak this evening, I would certainly encourage you to. I just ask that you come to the podium, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 5 minutes. Anybody wishing to speak under public comment? Please, sir. Absolutely. Appreciate that.
Hello. How about that? It was already live. Thank you all for putting the chairs in, by the way. That's super comfortable. I think we're going to come every night now. It's fantastic. I'm Jeff Herron. I'm here with my wife Colleen. We are at 1000 Ballard Drive in Huxley. And the council will remember 6 weeks ago, we had a working session on an issue that we raised related to public access to our property in an unauthorized way. And just to restate it again here 6 weeks later, so we haven't forgotten the topic. It is about a pass-through of convenience in the back of our property that the general public, including kids, including delivery drivers, including citizens, find it very convenient to pass through this part of our property. And we brought kind of a 3-stage proposal, part of which we can manage on our own, about grassing over the gravel so that it doesn't look like a road anymore. Fence permit that the city's already authorized, and then the complicating factor of an easement that the city owns to that piece of land, and the city transferal of that easement to a private citizen, our neighbor. The outcome of that working session, I believe, was the city has an action now to do some document searching to understand if there is in fact a hidden easement that did not show up in our public record search when we bought the property, to kind of clarify the history of the situation. It's been 6 weeks and we've heard nothing. So we're here tonight hoping that we can get an update from the city either during the meeting or after the meeting, just to kind of get a status, because we're ready to move on our piece of the project here. So thank you.
Perfect. Fair enough. Appreciate those comments.
I would just note for council that I did, after the meeting with the Herons, I reached out to Todd Peterson, because I understood that Mr. Jensen was down south. I did talk with Todd again today, and Mr. Jensen is still down south, but he expects him to be home maybe the next 2 to 3 weeks. They've got some basketball courts that are getting ready to open, I think, on a big project down in Waukee, which Todd felt he would be back for, and reminded Todd that I would, like to schedule a time to visit with Mr. Jensen when he came back. So.
Okay, sounds like we're still working through that. So I appreciate your comments this evening, and staff will continue to stay in contact with you on that. So anybody else wishing to speak tonight during public comment? Seeing no one rise. I need we do have a public hearing this evening. So the time is 6:04. I will open the public hearing on a proposal to enter into a GO urban renewal loan agreement and to borrow money thereunder. Anybody from the public wishing to speak on this public hearing this evening? Seeing no one rise, I'd ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, motion.
Motion by Mr. Mulder,
I'll offer a second.
second by Mr. Rigler. All those in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 4.1 this evening is a motion to approve resolution 25-022. It's a resolution taking additional action on proposal to enter into a geo urban renewal loan agreement. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Etcher.
Second, Mulder.
Second by Mr. Mulder. Appreciate that. Mr. Schultz.
Good evening, Chip Schultz with Northland Public Finance. The resolution, this type of action is held at the same day that you have a public hearing on a financing. So it simply gives the city authority to proceed with financing at a future date. I gather once you're taking construction bids for the project later this year. So that's really all it does, and let you go forward and move ahead at a later date. So glad to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, appreciate the synopsis there. I've got a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Etcher,
Yes.
Rigler,
Yes.
Mulder,
Yes.
Roberts. Yes.
Item 5 this evening is the consent agenda. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Roberts.
Second, Mulder.
Second by Mr. Mulder. Any questions regarding the consent agenda? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Rigler,
Yes.
Mulder,
Yep.
Roberts. Yes. Etcher,
Yes.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our business items this evening. Item A is our Ames Regional Economic Alliance biannual report from Mr. Dan Culhane.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. I've got a handout for you here. Maybe you've already seen it. No, that's too long. Everybody can't sleep tonight. There's here for the public as well. But it's a pleasure to be here. Again, I'm Dan Culhane. I'm here on behalf of the contractual relationship we have with the city of Huxley that we greatly appreciate. You'll see a number of things in this report here that I'll touch on most of them, but I won't go into a lot of detail. But we had a great Huxley business appreciation breakfast back in November. Dave Haugland and Mike Upoff from our team spoke at that event. And the neat thing about that day was that Mr. Haugland unveiled the grant program that you've put forward, and it's great to hear that you've had 13 inquiries from businesses with interest in that program. So we're excited about that. A business retention and expansion. Over the years that we've been here, we've talked a lot about how important that is. It's always fun to get a new business to come to your community, but it's really important you're taking care of the people that are already there. So we'll continue to place a high focus on that. The Workforce Housing Tax Credit Program application deadline is coming up in June. We're hoping to have an application here in Huxley, if not for this round, possibly the next round, but nonetheless, we're tracking that very closely on an opportunity that we're pretty excited about, and I think you are as well. And then the housing needs assessment on the back of the page is in process right now. I don't believe it's completed at this point, but certainly something we're going to need going forward as we look at different opportunities here in the Huxley community. Of course, you see Heather Denger's picture there on the back of our publication for an award we provided to her and your community for the Huxley Splash Pad project that we're thrilled. Hopefully that's going to be underway soon. If it's started. Am I taking something away from your report here by throwing that out there? All right. Well, it's exciting, and we're thrilled, and it was fun to recognize and acknowledge the hard work that this community and Heather and her department and a whole host of folks in this community have put forward on that project. And then I'd close by talking about prospect activity. And it's been really gratifying. We've had a lot of activity from an economic development, very traditional economic development standpoint as it relates to economic development prospects. You know, for a time, the Craig facilities that are here in town have not been available. And now we've got one facility that I believe is under contract. The other one may not be, but nonetheless, the fact that available buildings are oftentimes are are a pretty easy way to get someone in your community. So we're encouraged by that possible expansion. We've seen a lot of activity on the Blue Sky Commons space, and more recently, I think you're probably somewhat versed on a pretty sizable project we're working on the I-35 corridor that would also be in the Huxley community. I think the last time I was here, we were talking about a road we wanted to get improved before they took out the bridge, and clearly we didn't get that done. But nonetheless, I think there is an opportunity with this project, if things continue to go in the right direction, that the DOT will have a hand in that roadway improvement and a whole host of other things that are going on with that project that every day we're tracking it. Dylan Klein on my team is working very closely with David and as well as the landowner, and every day we're hoping this is the day they call and say that let's move this thing forward. So I'll stop there. I know you've got other things on your agenda this evening, but I would tell you, like I always do, that we appreciate being able to work in your community. It's been great working with you as a council and mayor, and certainly working with Dave and his team. And so I'll stop there if you have any questions.
I would just note that Dan is going to be one of the speakers at the city manager conference here on Thursday in Iowa City. We've got the 37th annual IMMI conference that starts tomorrow and goes through Friday. And Dan's coming to speak about the regionalism of economic development between Boone, Story, and Hamilton counties. So looking forward to that.
Thanks. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. And appreciate the work that your team's done. So. Item 6B this evening is a resolution number 25025, approving construction plans for the Highway 69 trail and storm sewer public improvements to the city of Huxley. Just for clarification, this is the trail. It would be south of town on Highway 69. So along 69 at that new development. Need a motion for this?
As well as the storm sewer.
As well as the storm sewer.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
I'll offer a motion.
Motion by Mr. Rigler,
Second.
second by Ms. Roberts. Dave, anything on this one? Or Forrest?
So these improvements are part of the Anthem, so first off, Forest Aldridge, Greenstream Kim. These improvements are part of the larger project of making improvements to Highway 69 from Campus Drive south. And those improvements are being reviewed by the Iowa Department of Transportation. This portion, the trail and the storm sewer project, will be turned over to the city as public improvements. So we thought it very important for the city and the city council to review the plans and know what's going on with this project, because these will become city improvements, where the highway improvements will continue to be maintained by the Iowa DOT. Nillis and Associates had put together this right here. It doesn't show the storm sewer improvements. Those are in the packet, but they're proposing a 10-foot wide recreational trail on the west side of Highway 69 that would run the full length of Anthem Drive. And it kind of zigzags around. There's the gas substation there. So we got to go around that. We tried to go in front of it and the grades just wouldn't work. So that's why the trail is going around the west side of the gas substation. And then otherwise it's following along the highway and making crossings of the streets in the appropriate places. And those crossings have been reviewed by the DOT.
Appreciate those comments. Any questions or comments regarding this?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. Hearing none, I do have a motion and a second, and ask for a roll call, please.
Mulder,
Yes.
Roberts. Yes. Etcher,
Yes.
Rigler,
Yes.
Item 6C this evening is resolution 25026. That's approving the Republic Apartment Complex site plan and construction plans and Anthem Plat 2. And the public improvements as well. Need a motion on this?
I'll give you a motion, Mulder.
Motion by Mr. Mulder,
Second.
second by Mr. Etcher. Dave?
I would just note that you've been provided with I sent out a copy of the minutes from planning and zoning last night, as well as an updated resolution. There really weren't any comments regarding this. The only thing that was noticed by planning and zoning was it was going to require 7 ADA spots. There were 6 that were shown on the plans. And Chris and his engineer, Adam, agreed to address that and have the 7th. And that's what the resolution that has before you, that you approve their site plan with the addition of the 7th ADA parking space to include in the plans. And you're also approving the construction plans for Anthem Plat 2. And these are the it'd be the water and the sewer that's going to serve the Republic Apartments that will set just south of the 3 commercial strip centers. The one thing that I would note from at least staff's standpoint, Jeff's not here tonight, is that these public improvements will be under a lot of concrete, parking, sidewalks, and those that kind of go back. Everything from Anthem South is going to be back on private property other than these public utilities. And Jeff wants to treat the utilities much as what happened with the Kading property, is that if there needs to be a repair on the water or the sewer, we'll make the repairs, but they don't take care of the concrete. And that's something that we will address at a later, but I did want to throw that out tonight just so you're aware of it. So, but as far as we're concerned, I think the construction plans and the site plan for the apartment complex, and this is getting Chris, this covers the first 3 buildings. He does have a building permit in for the first building. So, which he does have, that has been approved. So, and I don't know if Chris or
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything.
Yeah, happy to answer your questions and trying to get going.
Sounds great. Any questions or comments regarding this item? Pretty straightforward. I do have a motion and a second, so roll call, please.
Roberts,
Yes.
Etcher,
Yes.
Rigler,
Yes.
Mulder,
Yes.
Thank you very much. Item D this evening, resolution 25027, approving professional services agreement with V&K for construction review of Anthem Plat 2. Need a motion?
I'll give you a motion, Mulder.
Motion, Mr. Mulder.
Offer a second.
Second, Mr. Rigler. Any questions, comments on this? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Etcher,
Yes.
Rigler,
Yes.
Mulder,
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Item E this evening is resolution 25028, approving the Chase Decals site plan. Need a motion, please.
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Mr. Etcher.
Thank you, Mr. Etcher. I'll give you a second.
Second, Mr. Mulder. Any comments on this, David?
I was hoping Josh would be here tonight, but I don't see him. This particular resolution was put together prior to the planning and zoning meeting. It was tailored very similar to what council had approved for Chris's Anthem Access project. You recall he was putting in a large building, and then the second building potentially is going to be some rental space for equipment. At that time, the council allowed the gravel to be behind that first building. And I think within that, if the second building was built or 3 years came, whichever came first, he would be required to pave that area. So that's kind of what we did with the resolution that we put together for Chase Decals. As you look at Chase's plans, and I know Josh spoke last night, originally on one of the plan sheets, it shows some storage units kind of on the south side of that property. P&Z asked him about that. He indicated that that was probably longer term for him. He's going to be building his facility here. He's leaving a lease space over in Ames. He's building a facility here, but those will eventually could be boat, could be RV storage. He doesn't know when and if. If you look at, there's another sheet within the plans that shows a small gravel area behind his facility, and then a lot of grass that goes to the back. And I guess P&Z their recommendation was to allow that gravel area for storage. And he said that storage would be limited storage. He brings vehicles in, he applies the decals, the wraps and those sorts of things. If he gets like 6 or 7 vehicles in, say from a larger police department or something, he can't get them all in his shop at once. He may have a couple in the back, but they don't sit very long. P and Z basically noted that if and when he came forward to add storage, whether it's 5, 7 years down the road, that they would look at that, but they also felt like Forrest, did that cover everything?
Yes.
That, we would look at, paving those areas at that point in time. So I don't know that the 3 years that we had for Anthem Access would work. I'll let Erin speak to that. I talked to her a little bit about it earlier today, so.
Yeah, I mean, my recommendation is that we're consistent in how we're gonna interpret this and the waiver of what your code requires. There would always be the opportunity if the developer wanted to come back and say, we need an extension on this agreement, there would be opportunity for you guys to revisit it at that point, and we can do a new resolution. But my recommendation would be consistent with what you just heard done.
Is the developer opposed to that? We don't know because he's not here, but sticking with 3 years and then having the opportunity.
I think if he knows that he has the opportunity that he can come back, that if he hasn't developed that piece of it, which he may or may not ever do, I would hope that he would be okay with that.
Sounds good. Ultimately, it's council's decision, so appreciate those comments. Any further comments? Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, so. Instead of motion, say it's 3.
All right, Rigler,
Yes.
Mulder,
Yes.
Yes.
Roberts, Etcher,
Yes.
All right, item F this evening is resolution 25029, approving the Pro Commercial Precision Underground Utilities Site Plan. Need a motion on this.
Make a motion.
Motion, Ms. Roberts. Second by Mr. Mulder. Jamie, or any comments that you folks would like to make? Grant?
I would, sorry. Grant Chernago with Pro Commercial. I guess the comments that have been made, in talking to Jamie, were on the sidewalk, would like to propose putting the sidewalk in from on South Main and basically getting a waiver or something when the property to the west, when that gets developed, would be put that sidewalk in. Right now it goes to nowhere. And then I think the other one, really from the comments last night, are just some additional paving on the storage building, which I think a lot of it with time would pave that, but for budget reasons have put granular in that area with paving all the high traffic areas to the shop and things of that nature kind of to the north, so.
Good. I don't introduce yourself.
Yeah, sorry. Chris Gardner, I'm the developer and sold the land to Jamie. And I just want to say that Jamie wouldn't brag about himself, but I was doing some math last night. I think this could be the largest private business development and investment in Huxley in a long time, maybe ever. Jamie has nearing 100 employees, and I checked in with Craig Tool last night to see at their heyday, the max that they had in Huxley was 140 employees. And just to kind of put that in perspective, and Jamie has plans to supersede that and pass that. And I just want to say, yeah, that I'm very motivated and incented, and that doesn't mean he should get special favor. I'm not asking for that, but I just want to put things in perspective that this is the largest private investment we've had for a commercial business, I think maybe ever. And so I guess I just want to put that perspective and see if we can work with Jamie and keep him, because we should, as a community, do everything we can to bring 100 employees to town. And I don't know what Ditch Witch and all those other places have and Hale Trailer, but I don't think that they have 100 and growing.
So second largest boring contractor in the state for right now, and I think that will not be long before he's the highest, our biggest contractor in the state. So it's a big deal for Huxley, and I just want to say that I think if we could do anything we can to support him, that would be ideal.
Appreciate those comments.
I just have Grant on so if I understand, so the sidewalk along South Main is not an issue.
No,
But I know last night during P and Z, talked about waiving, not requiring the sidewalk up at that, I believe it's lot 12,
the farthest west.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
actual legal description on that plan was incorrect. It came off of a preliminary plat that was done. So
Yep,
I think
yep.
it showed last night, it was 13, 14, and 15, and the lots are actually 12, 13, and 14. So are you asking for a waiver just for, is Jamie just asking for a waiver for just 12 or for all of
Anthem.
Anthem at this point?
So we would put because last night we we're hoping to propose to use that bike path across the street, just trying to keep pedestrians where really they're going to be going to all the things that Chris is building. And I guess just kind of thinking I know that it's just a lot of concrete and it's a big lot. And so those numbers add up. Yeah, and safety. And so I think that the intent would be put it down Main to tie everything in and then ask for a waiver on Anthem when that does develop. That sidewalk would go in.
Appreciate that. For council's benefit, it's page 119 in your packet. Obviously, if you got to rotate it, but lot 12 would be the very far west lot. And according to P and Z's minutes from last night, their recommendation was to waive or delay the requirement for a sidewalk on lot, if I'm understanding that correctly.
That was P and Z's recommendation.
Okay.
And then I would, just note, and I would be remiss if I didn't, and I know, they've spoke about the granular surface behind, but I know that the building to the, I don't know if you call it the south or west, it was kind of depending on which direction Roger was looking at it. It went in both directions last night, but the building that would be more on lot 13, kind of the middle, be that lot. That is where, Jeff had a little concern in the fact that trucks are going to be coming back behind that building. There are different fill stations for water for the boring equipment. And Jeff was just concerned about the track out onto the road. So he was concerned about that, but it is council's decision on what you folks want to do.
Okay, let's take these items separately. Let's start with the sidewalk. The request is a waiver all along Anthem. So from Main going west, that's the ask from the builder. P and Z's recommendation was lot 12 only. What are council's thoughts regarding sidewalks here?
So if we're gonna do 12, for safety and so forth, I'm good with 13 and 14 also. So waiving that. But I am with what Jeff is saying, the driveway, am I correct? Is what we need to pave, so.
They've actually got a paved entrance coming off of Anthem. If you look at the plans, there's a paved entrance, but behind that building, there's gravel. And Roger brought up the point that I think within the code that gravel, the city has allowed gravel for storage of materials and equipment, is how Roger perceived what's in the code. But for like everyday traffic, that's where they jumped on the all paving. So
right now we're talking about the sidewalk. I'm good with 12, 13, and 14 waive.
Okay, appreciate that.
Yeah, I believe you made comment that kind of alluded to this, but is the intention to waive it with it being developed at the completion of the Anthem plat immediately adjacent to it? Or was that the comment that you were? I don't want to put words in your mouth. I believe that's what you were saying, is it would be paved once Anthem was complete to the west of you. Or east.
Yeah, when that.
Yeah, it's flipped upside down.
As the development goes west.
Yeah.
Then would pave it as, who knows what would be there someday.
Okay.
comfortable with that too.
My only caveat, I guess, before I get the input from the last two council members, certainly I understand the trigger for if development goes west. The other trigger you might consider would be if a trail for some reason was developed along the western portion of this. I don't know what our trail is going to look like in the future. We've got that issue with the Heart of Iowa Trail going up on 210 there. That's not, someday that needs to get resolved. And I don't know what that resolution looks like. I don't know where a trail ultimately comes into town, but you might consider that if a trail is developed adjacent or west of this, that's also a trigger. Not just a development, but a trail as well. So. This wouldn't necessarily become a 10-foot bike trail, but maybe that trail's meandering straight south, going north-south, so to speak, and this would connect to it. I don't know the likelihood of that, Chris or Jamie. Oh, I see what you're saying. For sure. Yeah, maybe not a consideration. So Tracy, any thoughts on the sidewalk waiver? Yep. Okay, Mr. Mulder?
Yeah, I think we've done other sidewalk waivers, especially out in this area, and I think there's also a trigger if council says do it, right? So we need to.
Also, we have a lot of money in doing sidewalks.
No, you're at whose expense?
I think it should be the owner's expense, when we decide to do it, right? If that's in 3 years and we decide we're filling in sidewalk infield project across citywide and across, and we would pull all those waivers. And since the developer or the builder is not doing it now and paying for it now, whenever that happened, if it was 2 years, 3 years from now, and we decide, the council at that time decides to move forward with that, then we would ask the owner of that property to install that property at their expense.
I would just note, if you recall, when Hedrick Roofing had their site plan a couple of years ago, they agreed they've got the sidewalk going along Main, but where it runs to the west up to the substation, council granted a waiver. There was some legal paperwork that was signed and then recorded, so. Yes.
Yeah, just do it the same as that is what I would propose.
And I guess my only other question would be, are you talking development past 12 going west, or if lot 12 gets developed? It's kind of what I'm looking at.
So lot 12's got an opportunity to be sold to a different entity and built on, is that?
I have no intention to.
For sure. Your current site plan though doesn't include any buildings or anything like that on lot 12. Yeah, I hope you get to 200, Jamie, for sure.
And we would have to get some recordings because some of that pond goes over, so if we were to split that and sell it, we would need to probably get some easements out of soon. But with it being all one owner, it's a moot point at this point.
I'm good with past 12.
Okay. I think we've got direction on the sidewalk issue regarding the gravel / paving issue. What's council's thoughts on that?
Which they have. They have the paved entrance, it's just behind the storage building. So yeah, paved entrances go away. How far off the right away, roughly across quite a ways.
Yeah, it's a big site. I mean, off the doors is a 30-foot concrete, which some residential driveways are that, and then it's 100 and some feet.
The site plan is a little deceiving. It's 15 acres. Of course, yeah, you can appreciate. It's 100 plus 100 feet of apron already.
And maybe the only one that I guess I would maybe just add is with the investment of Jamie and his building, it's going to be more than just gravel. you know, there's gonna be a lot of subgrade prep and things like that, because as you add up that gravel, it's pretty substantial. And if the world was perfect, we'd pave it all, but that easily is 7 digits and beyond. And even the sidewalk, which I appreciate, that's 6 digits. I mean, it's a lot of concrete. We did try to take into consideration the building to the north, as that's gonna be a lot of high traffic. That is all paved to try to keep that, where that storage building, those trucks they're not all coming and going every day, multiple times a day. So that's kind of where we did have insight for track off with a large entrance coming in off of Anthem, and then also the approaches, if you will, into each door. So
Appreciate that. So it sounds like we've got some direction here. The current motion as written indicates site plan as shown. How do we need to modify this accordingly?
I'm gonna ask Aaron to,
Yeah, no, that's fine. And so what you'll see at the dais, or what I have anyways, is the revised. And so if I'm understanding what council is wanting, I think on the revised version that you have, 1 and 2 are acceptable, if I'm from understanding. And then with 3, the sidewalk exception is going to be with lots 12, 13, and 14. So that would be the revision. And then we would draft, the agreement that's referenced that we've done for similar developers. So I think that's still
actually,
on Anthem Drive. There you go.
actually, you'd be dropping 1.
Okay.
Allowing 2. I don't know if council's gonna put a time period on that or what, but then 3 then would be a waiver along Anthem for lots 12, 13, and 14. If that makes sense.
Ms. Roberts.
You accepted both of those modifications as stated. Thank you. And the second one is Mulder. Yeah, you can do it.
I guess the only, is there any, so we'll have some sort of a legal agreement for the sidewalk waiver that would be recorded, much like what we've done in the past. Is there any trigger for additional paving behind, or just you're good with gravel at this point? I just want to make sure that we understand as staff what council's direction is.
Yeah, I think one of the triggers could be if we see a lot of gravel and if Jeff and others see gravel and debris being tracked out and see a consistent problem, then we need to address that problem. And I don't know if that means, I don't know how we put that in a resolution, but you know, if the concern comes to fruition of stuff being tracked out there, then we need to have a discussion. And it may not need to be a trigger point to pave that, but it may be a trigger point to do something different.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could probably add some language to 2, new 1, that the gravel surface is acceptable for the areas for equipment and vehicle storage unless safety problems arise, something like that. And then we at least got a caveat if we come back and visit.
Ms. Roberts, do you wish to amend your motion as to such? Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Mr. Mulder, do you concur?
Yeah.
Thank you. Any further comments, discussion on this item? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mulder,
Yes.
Roberts. Yes. Etcher,
Yes.
Rigler,
Yes.
Thank you very much. Moving on, department reports. Any department heads wish to, thank you folks very much.
Thank you.
Any department heads wish to make any comments this evening? Not seeing anybody rise. Forrest, any comments this evening? Oh, no general comments? Okay. Aaron? Perfect, thank you. Barb? David?
We just note, as I'd mentioned with Dan speaking in Iowa City, I'm going to be heading to Iowa City tomorrow. I'll be back Friday afternoon, so.
Let's start down here with Ms. Roberts this evening.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yeah, we were planning to have a meeting on the CIP next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Barb will be sending out the agenda and some information on what we've put together for the CIP for that discussion.
Mr. Etcher, any comments?
No.
Mr. Rigler?
Tonight.
Mr. Mr. Mulder?
Tonight, thank you.
All right. I do not have any additional comments. That will conclude our regular business for this evening. We do have a work session scheduled. And we do have one item on the work session, and that is a tree board request. Heather.
And I would note just before Heather speaks that planning and zoning did have this on their agenda last night for a discussion item, and the discussion coming out of P and Z is included in the minutes that were provided at your table this evening.
A little different. So I'm Heather Denger, Park and Rec Director. I don't live in Huxley, so I won't give you that. So this is a little different than I believe the one that was in your council packet, and the only difference is what was encouraged to me by P and Z last night, and that was verbiage. The original one said single and two-family homes, and they wanted me to articulate that it was R1, R1A, R2, and R2A zones. So that's below the second line in the bold, and articulated that. I also attached what I knew was Polk City's adaptation of their tree planting guideline, which is very similar to what we are doing, but not identical, just for your comparison. So what Tree Board is trying to do is to improve the tree canopy here in Huxley. Obviously, we know we lost a lot of trees with derecho, which we have each year tried to do more plantings, and we also have the tree nursery. We have also done one trail on right-of-way over by Burr Hall Park. However, the difficulty with that is, one, homeowners that don't want necessarily to have that done. And then second, the drainage issues. A lot of the new developments have subdraining subdrains, so we're not able to put trees on those areas. And then obviously we do plant trees in our parks and things like that. However, that still limits us, and all these new developments are typically on farmland. So if you drive around and you see, there are a lot of houses that have no trees at all on their site. The board has had a tree rebate for multiple years. We used to do tree sales where we would give people trees at half the cost. Trees have gone up quite a bit, and so now we do a tree rebate. That tree rebate has recently been upgraded to $100 per tree that is purchased, that we will rebate or give them a check for. One tree per year per homeowner is how that works. And we do get some with that, but definitely not even near the trees that we would desire. So the tree board wanted, which is 5 community members, they wanted to make this something that originally, when we were visiting this, let me explain that we thought they had to plant trees, and I was clarified by Amy Kaplan in the city hall that there are no expectations, because the original writing for our code said exclude single and whatever you want to call it, two-family dwellings. Things like Kading property have to do it because it's a developer. It's like a specific thing, but a single or a two-home connection is not required to currently. So what we're asking, and we took this to P and Z last night, and they were very receptive to it. We're all in support of it, but we're asking for what your thoughts are, and if you would consider doing something similar to this for any future plannings for developers that are coming here. So the specifics would be in the bold on the bottom, which would be that it's the responsibility of the builder. If it was planted in winter, or the home was built in winter months, obviously they're not going to have sod down either. So they usually get a temporary certificate of occupancy. So then before they could get their actual certificate of occupancy, they'd have to have the tree planted as well as their grass before they would get that. The specific tree list already needs to be updated in city code. It's obsolete, and it's not necessarily what we are encouraged by the state anymore because it's an old link. But that's where they'd have to get their tree selection from. And so what we're saying is one tree, if it's a two-family home, one tree per side, so it's two per lot, I guess would be the clarification on that. And then if it's a single-family home, it would be the two trees, one in the front or a side, one in the back or the other side. And then the tree board also wanted to have increased tree for those who have larger lots. So the other caveat that they were saying is that one tree would be required for each additional quarter acre beyond a half an acre. So I gave you the example. So if they had a 1 acre lot, 4 trees. So all these are what was suggested, and then we're open to any questions or any changes, but that is something that we would like to have updated in the code at some point.
Heather, there's a requirement to plant the tree. Is there a requirement that that tree remain, or after I get my CO, can I take the tree back out, or if it dies in 2 months, do I have to replace
That is
it?
a great question. So that's one thing that Amy brought up, Amy Kaplan, because there are trees that are required to be planted in site plans, and then the businesses say that. And so some people will just throw a tree in there and then a year later it's gone. What the tree board said is that it would be extremely difficult for 5 volunteers to manage that, which is why we also didn't want to do contingencies and say you have a year to plant it. So no, that's the short answer, is there's no. There are specifications which I saw when I looked at Polk City, which could be articulated in ours, where it can't be like a bucket tree. It has to have, what's the word they had in there? A burlap sack, yep, it has to be a certain diameter of tree. There are specifications about that are going to be more likely to ensure. The other thing that Polk City said is one tree could be an overbearing tree and one could be an underbearing, if I'm saying that word correctly. So there's lots of things we could modify, but that's the biggest thing that we said and that P and Z agreed with us on, is that it's too hard to babysit. It's easy for it to be for them to get their certificate of occupancy, to have it at least done. They've put the effort into it. Whether they keep it up or not is on the homeowner, and that's what it says in Polk City too.
Who will be charged with ensuring that the tree's the proper caliber, the proper species, the proper over tree, under tree? Who's charged with that task?
So basically that would be part of that certificate of occupancy. So they would have to do that checklist. What does it fit this? Does it fit this? And then the safe building would have that when they get that.
Okay.
We could do that aspect if they did not want to do it. We did talk to Jeff Begg when we were initially talking about this. Because it could be a lot on them to know. I wouldn't know all the different trees on there. It could be something where new homeowners that is something that my tree board is willing to do. They were concerned about babysitting it because could have 1,000 houses being rebuilt and there's no way for them to be able to monitor that. But we could do an application part.
Yeah, I guess I do have some concerns with, Safe Build. They're not arborists or
Mhm.
tree experts. Certainly talented folks, but they're not arborists. They don't claim to be. The difficulty becomes inevitably they're doing an inspection on Friday afternoon and they need the final CO Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock. I mean, there's not 3 days to get a park volunteer out there to look at these trees kind of thing. So you might want to think through the logistics of it, because that could become problematic. The other comment that I'll offer up, and then I'll turn it over to council for comments for sure. You touched on, in the winter conditions, you can't plant trees. I run into this consistently, where they're able to get sod down. I mean, this year they were laying sod into December, but the tree farms were closed. They couldn't plant trees. That's going to force homeowners to pay for a $250 temp CO because their trees couldn't get planted. Plus they're buying the trees. It could become an expense to some individuals in some instances. So, yes,
I understand what you're saying about that. Just the tree purchase price is on the builder, not on the homeowner. Well, yeah, but correct. But yes. I was not aware of that.
Fair enough. Council comments.
I don't know. I feel bad because I don't like to force people, like, maybe I don't want any trees, maybe I'm gonna put solar panels on my roof. I don't know. So I'll have to think about it a little bit, I guess, Heather. I also was concerned, then I realized it was Polk City, like having to do the tree spade and stuff in there, so I'll just think about it. I love trees, I had trees. Maybe that's not for everyone.
So also let me also explain the fact that we did just get certified as a Tree City USA once again, which we have not been for well over 10 years. And that is one expectation too, is to help increase the tree canopy. So that is another reason why we're bringing this.
Maybe, and I'll be quiet after this, maybe it's just some incentives we do to get them to plant, but maybe you're
Mhm.
seeing that's not working, I don't know, I'll definitely think about it, thank you.
I'm good with it as, me, as long as we're not in the right of way where we're gonna cause problems with our water drainage and problems like that. Is like, if we can put it on their property. and-
Which is 100% where it's
Yeah,
supposed to be.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Yeah, in a former life, I was an arborist and did tree care and landscaping care. What I know we did in Des Moines and some of the Des Moines suburbs that helped, I think the diameter stuff is super hard to enforce, but I think if you get an approved tree list and you say this number of trees, these species of trees, which Iowa State, I know updates theirs every couple of years. Ames is 10 miles north. I can't imagine it would be that different. I think that is much easier to enforce than some of the stuff. I actually didn't know Polk City included some of the stuff, but I'm all for the number of trees and certain species, because there are species that are planted now that just fall apart. And Huxley, I don't know if you guys know, has a lot of wind that comes through periodically. So yeah, I'm good with it.
Mr. Holder.
I'm with Tracy. I need to think through it a little bit more too. I'm a big fan of trees. I bought a lot that had trees because I like trees, and I've planted over 30 trees in that lot since I've moved in there, and some have lived and some have died. But I also do know my neighbor moved to town because they were tired of dealing with trees and branches and leaves and doesn't like trees at all. So I hate forcing them to say, you have to have this tree. Well, they would probably plant one and pull it out, right? And or let it die or something like that. So I want to think through that. I think there could be other, even though currently we don't have the parkway to plant trees in it because we allow utilities and storm drains and sub drains and everything else like that. That could be a potential as we move forward through our comp plan and maybe our zoning requirements. If we do want to develop parkways that allow for trees and are right for it, we could consider a different opportunity to increase the tree canopy here in Huxley. All that said, I love trees. I also love sunshine some parts of the time, but I have a big lot, so I have both.
Mhm.
If I was in a real small lot and had a big over carriage tree, then yeah, and I was forced to do that, I don't know if I would like it. So, yeah, so I need to think through it a little bit and talk to some other folks and not just be my opinion. I need it to be the public's opinion.
Fair enough. Certainly appreciate those comments. I think the thing to do here, Heather, would be to schedule this for a future work session again. Maybe push this out, let's say a month. Give the council members an opportunity to discuss this and think about it. A couple of the items that were brought up, that'll give you and your tree board an opportunity to put together a couple of thoughts as well. Certainly do appreciate your work on this and tree boards as well. So that's fair enough. We'll
Sounds good.
push it
Yep.
down the road. Thank you very much. With that, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting this evening.
Motion, Mulder?
Motion,
Second,
Mr. Mulder, second, Mr. Escher. All those in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. As a reminder, we do have a meeting again on March 1st at 6 p.m. Thank you very much. April 1st, April Fool's Day.
So blame Lori, he's not here.
Yeah, we blame Lori about that.